From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm MTN's Megan Elaine, seeing just how safe the Trump rally will be this Friday.
Vice President Kamala Harris has chosen Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota as her running mate. I'm Carissa Lawson, and I'll have why Democrats think he will help lead the party's fight to defeat Donald Trump.
Good morning, Southwest Montana. 6 o'clock on this Wednesday. Look at that. The Bridgers are out this morning.
Yeah.
For the first time in what feels like a couple of weeks.
I know, they do exist.
They do exist after all that smoke we've had the last couple of weeks.
We were having so much haze. Some mornings, I mean, you could only really see the silhouette out there.
The other day when it cleared up, I actually kind of forgot that there's rocks on that bridge.
I know.
So I was like, ah.
So that's a good sign. A lot of that smoke and haze is moving out of our system. What you're seeing right there, I mean, if anything, it's just kind of some low-lying clouds, maybe fogging up the top of it. But hey, we'll take fog. That's fine.
And
with
rain.
me.
We got some rain last night. That was nice.
We did get some rain last night. And did you see the hailstorm?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
I think it started right by my house because I didn't get that much, but I got some.
Well, it woke me up from my nap, so it really put a damper on my day. Let's take a look and see if I will have to set my alarm for today too. Now here's a live look over in our Futurecast. We're gonna pause this at about 9 o'clock or so. As you can see, just not a whole heck of a lot happening. You can see some few dots for some chances of some rain showers. What really might be a little bit of a difference maker, but those are strong words, is this little system that is to the east of Butte. As you can see, it moves all the way towards Bozeman. There is a shot of some thunder and lightning chances in there at about 4:15 in the afternoon or so. Will it be as intense as yesterday? From my naked eye, it doesn't seem that way, but I just wanted to put it on people's radar just so you're aware of what's going on outside. Taking a look at the Bozeman hour-by-hour forecast, going to be starting off a little bit cooler at 56, working our way up towards 74, and it's a similar picture over in Butte, consistent cloud coverage. We're going to have more of your forecast and a look towards your weekend in just a couple minutes.
Alrighty, thank you, Jane. Well, the United States Secret Service is working closely with Montana law enforcement to make sure that the Donald Trump rally on Friday runs smoothly and safely. Our Megan Elaine has some insider tips about what kind of prep goes into the security measures.
The Brick Breeden Fieldhouse is expecting full attendance for this Friday's rally. Just exactly how will security measures go?
And together, Montana, we will make America wealthy again.
This Friday will be former President Trump's 5th time in Montana. Following the recent assassination attempt, security will be monitored heavily.
Well, I think there's a variety of concerns. Indoor events present their own set of challenges. One of the things that's always going to be critically important to this is the threat environment. The current threat environment is clearly high.
Mitch Price is a current Bozeman resident and a former Secret Service agent for more than 20 years. He says preparation for security measures is underway for Friday's event.
Montana is an open carry state, so obviously residents are permitted to openly carry their firearms, and that will be a security consideration in preparation for this event.
A spokesperson for the United States Secret Services tells me they can't go into much detail following the events on July 13th. People driving in Bozeman can expect to see various road closures. Working with local law enforcement is a necessity, Mitch emphasizes.
Collaboration with local law enforcement is absolutely critical. As I've stated before, the Secret Service can't do their job without the support of local and state law enforcement.
What type of robust security does Mitch assume will occur Friday?
A big, large crowd. So the magnetometers, metal detectors, all the attendees will be processing through those. I would anticipate that the lines will be pretty long and the protocols will be very robust around the screening process, searching vehicles as appropriate, people as appropriate, and everybody attending will go through the magnetometers.
And what about protesters?
So proximity of the protest site will be something that will be determined here this week prior to the event.
Stay tuned for coverage on the rally. In Bozeman, Megan Elaine, MTN News.
In national headlines, Vice President Kamala Harris and her newly picked running mate Tim Walz held their first rally together in Philadelphia last night. In the days ahead, they'll visit battleground states before the Democratic National Convention this month in Chicago. CBS News correspondent Carissa Lawson reports from New York.
Vice President Kamala Harris introduced her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, to a crowd of thousands in Philadelphia and to millions of voters across the country.
He's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be.
This first stop for the Harris-Walz ticket kicks off a tour to at least 5 other battleground states over the next few days.
This campaign, our campaign, is not just a fight against Donald Trump.
In his remarks, the 60-year-old governor also went on the offensive against former President Donald Trump and his VP running mate J.D. Vance, saying he can't wait to debate him.
That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. These guys are creepy and, yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see.
Rallying earlier Tuesday, also in Philadelphia, Vance said he'll debate Walz after the Democratic National Convention.
That is what's so scandalous about Kamala Harris's basement campaign. 16 days she has been the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party. 0 times she has sat for a real media interview. That's a disgrace.
The Trump campaign released a new video attacking Harris for her VP pick.
Kamala Harris just doubled down on her radical vision for America,
saying, quote, Tim Walz will be a rubber stamp for Kamala's dangerously liberal agenda. Carissa Lawson, CBS News, New York.
And Governor Walz has signed laws to expand paid leave and to give background checks on gun owners. Back a little closer to home, the Treasure State is remembering the Man Gulch fire and the lives that were lost in it. It was 75 years ago this week on August 5th, 1949, that a lightning-sparked fire blew up and overtook 15 smoke jumpers and a fire guard. 13 of them were killed. Over the last couple of days, several events have been held to commemorate the tragedy, including a tribute held at the state capitol. Our MTN's Tom Wiley was there for the ceremony.
There are 13 wreaths adorning the steps of the Montana State Capitol, and each of these wreaths represents one of the brave souls and one of the firefighters who lost their lives fighting the Man Gulch fire 75 years ago, when on Monday night here at the Capitol building, the U.S. Forest Service held a ceremony to honor these men and make sure their stories and sacrifices are never lost to the pages of history. The event started with a flyover from the Miss Montana C-47. That's the very same plane that dropped the smoke jumpers into the Man Gulch fire in 1949. A recurring theme from the speakers was how the Man Gulch incident has impacted the fire community over the last 75 years. 13 men tragically died, but their sacrifice has made sure thousands of others lived.
We've dedicated ourselves to fire research and the science behind fire behavior. Man Gulch spurred important lessons that ring true today on every fire line in the nation.
And though their legacy is felt in the firefighting community, there are stories behind each of the 13 men who perished. They had families, histories, personalities, and it's important to preserve the memory of the people who lived, not just the event that claimed their lives. And that's where historians like keynote speaker John McClain have taken up the cause.
Importantly, the lives and personalities of the men who died in Man Gulch have been recovered thanks to research by many people and the cooperation of friends and families.
The 13 men died in Montana, but they were laid to rest all around the country. And this year, for the first time ever, the National Smoke Jumpers Association held a ceremony at each gravesite.
We have 13 sites, 6 are in Montana, but 7 are in other states, 2 in California, and the other 5 are in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New York, and Tennessee. So this was more than a Montana event. It resonated all over the country.
The Man Gulch tragedy was a transformative event, but 75 years later, the impact still resonates, thanks to 13 lives that transcend the past, the present, and the future.
Man Gulch has not faded into obscurity, but has risen from the ashes to become a cultural legacy for the wildland fire community, Montana, and the nation.
13 crosses high above the cold shore.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
While some might hear the term hospice and think of death and sadness, others see it as a service, as a ray of hope and comfort for their patients and their families. Our Megan Thompson joined a family and a nurse during a weekly hospice visit to learn how this service works.
Well, hospice care is generally seen as a last resort for the end of life, but for Bonnie Dwyer and her husband John, the hospice care they've been receiving has provided reassurance and even joy.
So Bonnie, I'm just gonna check your vitals, okay? Okay? See?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I tell everybody how I met her was when I was a patient at Warm Springs. She had a dance with me, and then I wouldn't let her go.
All jokes aside, John and Bonnie Dwyer have been married for 60 years. They did meet when Bonnie was in nursing school, but John was never her patient. And since they've met, he hasn't left her side. He visits Bonnie 3 times a day at her home in an assisted living center. She has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's and is nonverbal. Several months ago, John noticed wounds on her leg that would not heal. He became worried.
They're good for your feet.
When she had the problems with her leg, I was just worried that it was getting worse and worse.
Bonnie was placed on hospice care. Leanne McCulley is the director of nursing at Honeybee Hospice and was on call the weekend Bonnie's condition became severe. Thanks to some quick thinking and creativity, McCulley and her team addressed the wound, and her continuing care has made a difference in Bonnie's life.
We just take it one day at a time, and we really focus on living rather than dying. And we have a team that provides services 1 to 7 days a week for the duration of a person's life.
I just want what's good for her. And so, I feel 100% better. Yeah, everything is great.
As John and Bonnie celebrate their 60th wedding anniversary on August 8th, Leanne and her team are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Honeybee Hospice. In Butte, Megan Thompson, MTN News.
Well, and a happy early anniversary to that couple, yes.
Just look at her smile. All right, I have some interesting video to show you.
Okay.
Slash a potential workout idea, because we've worked out together before.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Dog yoga.
Oh,
look at this.
Well, look at that guy's
That
haircut.
dog has an interesting hairdo, but this is out in LA. Of course, where else would you expect it but LA?
Typical.
But also, I don't know how you would do yoga with a dog on your back. But still, this was a LA-based Laughing Frog Yoga Studio. They're like one of the first yoga studios that offered dog yoga down in Southern California. They started this back up in 2019, actually. So pretty interesting to see.
Yeah.
But they did this all for a good cause, not just because you wanted to hang out with dogs. All of these dogs are adoptable. Look at that one.
Oh, that's sweet.
Oh, that is just adorable. Oh, a little kiss.
Little kiss to the camera.
But they had 58 adopted. Oh, I want that one.
I want that hairless one. Bring him back. I like the underdog.
Yeah, the underdog.
Yeah.
They had 58 puppies that were all actually adopted from this class, so pretty neat to see.
Sweet. It taking downward dog to a new meaning.
Yeah, that'll help out, especially when you're like just in pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing
Just
some of those
poses. Just a little added pressure sometimes can do all the difference.
Exactly. All right, time for us to take a quick break. We'll have your full forecast, and we'll take a look at how, if you've been getting some political texts this political season, how you can stop those, but how some of those have been looking more and more like scams. We'll have more on that coming up after the break.